Hey there, this is Niels Beardfoot, and today we are crafting the Chestnut bag from leather featuring the Falcon A1 laser. As always, start printing your pattern, cut it out, transfer it onto the leather and cut out that as well. A thin blade makes here very much sense, especially on the spikes in the inner corners. Next, we want to bevel the edges, and you can do this only on the top side, but you can also do it on the flash side. But on the spikes, definitely don't do it on the flash side, because we're going to glue them together with another piece of leather later. Now we moisten the leather, by the way it's 2mm or 6-ounce veg tan leather, to prepare it for stamping and embossing. After some drying time, we can start with punching some holes and then add whatever decorations we like. Since most likely the precision of the hole punches is not that perfect, we don't want to do it on all the edges. So this is how we do it manually, and now let's check out how the laser does it. Ta-da, 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 ta-da. Laser. Creality Falcon. A1. As you might have guessed it, this video is sponsored by the Falcon A1 laser. It's a relatively small laser, and how I use it I show you now. But everything I say is mostly also true for all the other lasers. I start by cutting out a rectangular of leather, which is just a little bit bigger than the working surface of the leather. But it's still quite rounded, so I moisten it mainly from the flash side, then put a wooden board on there and let it dry this way. Then it's mostly flat, but to keep it completely flat, or almost completely flat, I use magnets as well. And why is it so important that the leather is flat? Good question, me. Because of the focus. We need to focus the laser on our material. We got this little focus block here, we set it underneath, loose some screws here on the sides, and set the laser to the correct height and then screw it back on. Creality has its own free-to-use program for this laser. And you can use a camera in the laser if your leather piece is not perfect rectangular to just position the pieces to laser out accordingly. What cutting settings you need depends on the power of your laser and the thickness and the kind of the material, and these work best for me. After this we can just press start. And in theory we get shown here how long it takes, but so far this never was accurate for me. 10 watts is not that super high power for a laser, so he will take some time to cut out all the pieces. But the thing is, while he works, you can do other stuff. And now enjoy this quite satisfying part from the laser. Quick pro tip, use the camera to place your magnets not in the line of the laser. Also here you can see what happens if the focus is not correct. You see it burned here because the leather was not flat but waved and it did not cut all the way through. You also want to remove the ash from the edges, just scratch them off. And then you can proceed as usual. Here are the identical pieces, just one with the laser and the other one with hand cut. Next we dye, and I start with my airbrush with a yellow base coat. It doesn't need to be too clean. And then I go over it with some green in a low angle to already create some shadows and some more light areas in the center. And then I also add some dark brown on the edges to improve this even more. Further, I use some sandpaper, which is around 1000 grit, and remove carefully some of the dye in the center to lighten it up even more. Next comes the leather finish, just put it on the sponge, put it everywhere. As also I recommend tapping on the last coat to avoid markings. If you also put it on the edges, you can use the moisture to burnish them, but don't burnish the spike edges yet. And here you can see the yellow highlights that the sandpaper created. Now we want to moisten all the pieces again to soak them for shaping. Let them dry quite a bit back and then restart. I like to use my breakfast bowl for shaping. It's a quite easy tool and it gives the piece a general shape by just pressing it in the inner shape. Also we want to fold outwards the spikes, which works great on the edge of the bowl or on the edge of a table, for example. For all the other pieces we do pretty much the same part, just press it in the bowl. This is roughly what we should have now. Here we got two different pieces and they align along the spiky edge, and that's where we want to glue them together with contact cement. We do not have holes on the hand cutout piece yet, and the reason for this is because it most likely would not align perfectly. And just to give ourselves an easier life, we wait till it's glued and then use an awl to cut them all the way through so we can be sure that it is aligned. So that's what we have now. Holes perfectly aligned, and then we just sew it. You can see even though we took the thin knife, it's not perfectly aligned on the edge. Here we can see the difference between the laser cutout and the hand cutout, and with the laser it's more precise, still not perfectly because we didn't glue it perfectly, but better, which is something I personally like. And after this we just also do the same with two other pieces, like we put them together. Get this weird cucumber. And since we don't want the weird cucumber, we wet it from the inside and then we can bend it open. And while we bend it open, we also want to make sure that it's mostly roundish shaped, like it stays in the shape that we want. You can press here from the outside the edge in, and from the inside the area between the spikes out. Also here we want these two holes every time to overlap. And this is how you turn a weird cucumber into a tortoise shell, I guess. When mostly dry, we can now make the edges of the sewing here perfectly. Just burnish them if that's enough. But most likely you got some areas like here, as shown before, that need to be sanded down a bit. And now we have this thing. And then we repeat it 3 times. This is the lid. It's a bit different, but the other one is exactly the same. And here along this edge, we want to bend it in a bit and then sew it together with the other one, top side to top side, like this. And if it's still moist, unless you have to re-moisten it, you can press it out. Also, we got these 2 nut pieces that we want to sew in here. On this top hole here, we want to connect both pieces with a rivet. And down here we want to sew it. On the top and bottom we still got this big opening, and these we want to close next. But first we add some pressure buttons on the attachment straps. Now we sew these on the opening together with this circle on the inside, which will close the hole, and then these attachment straps on the green parts on the outside. You just sew it through the round holes. You should go at least 3 times through everything to make sure it is attached nicely. Now we still have this lid and it needs a closure. Here I use a Sam Browne rivet. Use some glue, a screw stopper, and then screw it on. And right next to it we want to attach the closure strap. Unfortunately I forgot to show how to rivet it on, so it's just riveted on. On the other side we want to now sew it to the opening, like with a circle in the inside again, and the end of the lid here to the nut. Now the very last step is we want to punch a hole in the closure strap. So we measure, we mark, and then punch this hole with this little fin here, which has to be for the Sam Browne rivet. And this is it. And that's it for the Chestnut bag. I hope that you liked this little video and enjoyed the process. Also how to use a laser. And this time on the design I made sure that a phone definitely fits in there. I quite like this design here, it's quite versatile. It also works sometimes as a self-defense weapon, probably. You can just wear it on your belt, on your wrist, or add a shoulder strap and wear it around your shoulder. And just in case you want to transport a half-liter mug in your bag, it does fit in. And since this is a sponsored video, there's a little present down below for you in the first comment for the first 24 hours. Thank you for watching and see you guys next time. Have a great day.